All right, here we go.
What's good, everybody? I'm Robert Dickens Jr.
This is Ryan Reed.
This is Elanders Frazier.
This is John Gaal, and you're listening to Volta.
Changing the conversation
For percussion educators,
designers,
and performers.
What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Gets everyone every time.
That's a good one.
Hey, everyone.
John.
Thank you. I'm here with my friends Elanders, Ryan, and
Yo.
Rob. Guys, say hi.
I'm here.
What it do? Why Elanders mic so loud?
Hey.
I got to get my mic game up, man.
Yo.
You sound like a podcast, and I'm just like over here. I don't know.
that's because he's half eating his mic right now.
Take a bite. Look, I'm trying to step into the forays of Joe Rogan. You know, some legendary podcasters, Joe Budden. There's a lot of Joes doing podcasts out in the world.
Really?
You know, I'm trying to keep my game up there. You know, all I need is some gold-studded headphones, and then I'll be in there. That's what I need next is some big, giant 24-karat gold beats.
Dude, right here.
There you go. Ryan's got it.
Ryan ready?
All right. Well, hey, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. Today, for everyone that's listening, we are talking about what we wish we knew when we were younger, which I wish what we were told in music and life. It's kind of just like an open conversation. We got some food. I have some popcorn. Rob's eating some nachos over there. And Landers is doing some sour tarts or something.
I'll probably get something to eat when I get out of here. So, man, let me jump in on this. I got something to say.
All right.
I wish someone had told me when I was younger how hard it was to get good at a saxophone.
Whoa!
When I first started music, I was a saxophone player. I played saxophone for 7 years before I switched to percussion. Now, obviously, I'm a lot better at percussion than I ever was at saxophone. But no one told me when I first started how hard it would be to get at that instrument. So, you know, as a kid, I always wanted to be, I wanted to be good. I wanted to be good at what I did. And coming out of middle school, I was okay. I was second chair. Felt good. Felt positive about it. It was only 3 of us, but, I was in the mix, Stepping to high school. 3 people. Yo, look, I was in the top 66%. All right. I always been decent at math. All right, look. So, I stepped into high school. Now I moved from 3 chairs to 17. And now I'm sitting 15.
You had 17 saxophone players in your band?
And yeah, when I got into high school, our band was like 240 strong. So we had 17 alto saxes. That's not counting the tenor saxes. That's just alto saxophones. So when I came into high school, I immediately was, and I auditioned and everything. I was sitting 15th chair out of 17 saxophones. And, you talk about a confidence, just, don't matter, anybody tell you, oh, it's high school, a lot of them are in high school, they're being good. You got freshmen in there. I'm a freshman. You got freshmen in there in 4th, 5th, 6th chair, I'm in 15th looking down the line how they get that good? We was all in middle school, right? No, they went to a different middle school. Go to my middle school, right? So, but in that, when you're in that frame of reference, 13, 14, you're just well, if I practice, I'll get better. And then I can challenge, move up. Drumline hadn't came out yet, though, so I didn't really know how to challenge anybody yet.
Challenging for P1. Musicianship and choreography.
Right, exactly. Musicianship and choreography. Now, I hadn't learned how to challenge anybody yet, but, I thought I'd go home, practice. I was getting on my mom's nerves, just practicing all the time. Went back to school to re-audition again and still in 15th chair. Turns out the amount of practicing I was doing got me no better in high school with that information. And that's where I had made the decision that maybe I would be better off drumming. And when I started practicing drumming, that's where I started seeing strides, because maybe that was what I was meant to do. I was meant to calculate rhythms and hit things as opposed to figure out how my embouchure needed to sit in order for me to have a perfect tone. But I wish somebody had told me that, and I felt like I would have saved, 7 years not playing alto and Bay Area, et cetera, and focusing all of that energy onto drums directly from middle school. That's the first thing I wish somebody had told me.
Well, I have a question on that, though. Like, how long do you think parents or teachers should wait before they tell a student, hey, you suck at this, you need to go do a different instrument and go do something else, right? Because, like, when kids, like, first start something, they enjoy it either because they actually want to do it or they don't enjoy it because their parents are making them do it, okay, because it's going to pay off dividends in the long run. But I meant, like, let's say the kid's practicing, how long should they wait? A day, a week, a month, a year before the kid's just like, no, I suck at this, I'm going to go do something else?
I don't think I had motivation from my middle school band director because he originally wanted me to play a brass instrument. And I was very adamant about the fact that I wanted to play alto saxophone because, back late 90s, Kenny G, you couldn't get no better than Kenny G. And I was like, I'm going to be playing Kenny G notes by the time I'm done with this. You know what I'm talking about? I was never playing Kenny G notes. You know what I'm saying? But I did not want to play a brass instrument. Like, he gave me the mouthpiece for trombone, baritone, et cetera. And he's like, it was you got big lips. I think you can handle it. And I was like,
that needs to be talked about in general. Like, why are we typecasting kids for instruments based on their body?
Right. Like, you got some thick forearms. I think you need to play drums. Like, what? Are we really doing that? Wow. Wow. But yeah, so I really wanted to play saxophone. And my sister at that point, when I entered 7th grade, my sister had started playing drums. She was a strings player, but she had started playing drums. So I watched her play drums, I critiqued her, et cetera, and I watched, but I never had that urge to do it until I actually got into high school, and I actually started doing it. I got into it doing the indoor group my freshman year out of fall season because I marched saxophone that first year. But it was like, why didn't somebody tell me, like, you're practicing, but you're just okay? And funny enough, like the first chair saxophone in my middle school, we both went to the same high school. He didn't even do band. He did football. He was a great football player. So it's just like, I felt like band in middle school was just kind of something to do for a lot of kids, but none of them were really serious about it. But like both of my older sisters had gone through the high school program. So I knew that's where I was headed. Like, there was no doubt. My mom was like, y'all can't do 2 different activities. Y'all got to do the same one because I'm only driving one place. So, like, I knew that's where I was headed, but I wish somebody had told me, like, there's more options. Like, just because it's something that you really like, you really enjoy, have you tried out anything else? Like, and I felt like no one had really given me that option until I got to high school. And then that's where I really figured out what I could do. Because like I said, the middle school band director there was something he wanted me to do. And then when I didn't want to do that, I think he kind of got upset. It was just like, well, then play saxophone then. It's just like, good luck. It's like, hey, man, it's messed up.
So do you think some of that was like not being good at saxophone, or some of it was kind of what I'm going to tie into what I wish I had known when I was younger is like, how to actually practice efficiently. And I took a bunch of lessons growing up. And so I think I was taught to practice. I just I didn't apply myself to practicing efficiently, and I wish.
I don't think I did. I don't think I knew.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I wish I would have realized, like how much faster you got better when you practice efficiently and how much less time that takes to get better. Because I think that's the thing that I never understood is like, I practice a lot, but it's like practicing a lot and, watching a movie at the same time or watching whatever or playing PlayStation or whatever, kids nowadays, practice and play Facebook and practice and do Snapchat and practice. But I wish people would have told me like, hey, we're not just telling you to practice 15 minutes of really focused time because we just want you to focus for 15 minutes, but because 15 minutes of focus is way better than 3 hours of crap.
I will say that I think some of the attribution to that was, when you're a horn player inside of a very large band, like you've got we had two band directors that were responsible for the entire horn line. Then you had a drumline instructor, and like we had two drumline instructors that were responsible for just the percussion section. So you're talking about the student ratio of 80, 90, 120 horns to two people versus 20 kids to two people. And then, of course, we had like a 40-person color guard. They had like 6 instructors. So it's like, I feel like that's not me being biased. Sometimes it's just reality. I feel like they're always an overabundance in certain cases, not in every circumstance. But I felt like once I got into the percussion section, there was more focus and attention on how I needed to practice, as opposed to I was just kind of lost in the mix in a sea of kids. And like I got the same information that everybody got, and either I knew what to do with that information because of prior knowledge or I didn't. And I felt like, I didn't take any private lessons or anything like that. So it's like, you're absolutely right. Like I didn't make the strides in saxophone that I definitely started making in percussion, because I think just the extra effort of information that was coming out of those instructors at that time, with how small we were in relationship to everybody else, I could use that information cognitively to get better and have an hour worth of practice mean more as a percussionist than it did to me when I was in a 17-person section and I didn't have somebody like calling me and telling me exactly what I needed to practice, etc. And I don't even think I had the foresight to even go ask other people how to get better. I just kind of took it as, well, I guess this is how good I'll ever be. Whereas on the other side, I started getting better and kept asking questions and realized, hey, the more questions I ask, the better I can get. Like upperclassmen got tired of me asking questions because I would always say, well, how do you do this? Well, how do you do this? Well, how do you do this? I was trying to do this. Well, how do I do this? Shut up, E. Like, yo, man, I'm trying to get good. Help me out. So, man, interesting for sure.
Well, I will say that the thing that I wish that I was told, and I guess I didn't, this was skated past when I was in high school, was that I probably should pick one drum corps to audition for and just go back multiple times. Like I auditioned for at least three different drum corps before I made it, which I'm pretty sure had I went back to Magic in 2006, I think I probably would have had a pretty good shot at making that. But in hindsight, being that I didn't want to be on tour hungry, I think I'm okay with that choice to not do that. I will say in each of these instances, I did make it to the callback camp, just didn't make the final cut. But I just didn't know, like, you should just go to the same place and, like, you'll have a better chance because they're going to know your face and, you're going to kind of build some rapport, whatever, this, that, or whatever. But I don't know. That's just something that I do see sometimes with a lot of even my students. Like they go and audition for like all these different drum corps where they don't know anybody. You don't know anybody that's on the line. Like, why are you just like going shopping? Like you at Target? Like where are you going? What do you do? But I mean, I guess maybe they're like collecting drum corps experiences or something. But I'm just like, dang, man, like you getting like all the information, but just like not getting where you want to go. And I think that's kind of where I was until luckily at Troy, caption head or new caption head for Glassman happened to be at Troy, which was weird and was like, you need to come audition for this drum corps. So I don't know. I think that's the thing that I thought about was like, why would I do it that way? Why did no one tell me that this is dumb? Somebody should have told me like, dude, like what are you doing right now? Like this is not gonna work, bro. I don't know.
How many students do you think take that mindset of I'm gonna get all this experience and then I'm gonna actually go audition somewhere?
A lot. Well, at least in my estimation of the students that I deal with, like they're like, I don't think they have in mind like a trajectory. You know what I mean? Like they just see the group that they want to be in, and they're just like, I want to march Blue Coats, or I want to march like Mystique. And I'm just like, okay, that's great. Trying to audition for Mystique 3 years in a row and you continue to get cut, like maybe there's a disconnect here. Like maybe this is too big of a leap for you. Like maybe you need to like walk yourself up there rather than like trying to pole vault yourself up to success because it's not working. So I think there's a lot of students like that.
What about you, John? What's something that you try to hide over there so you can get
You know,
But
no,
John
I haven't said anything because I've honestly I've been thinking about like what you guys have been saying, and if there's anything, but I don't see anything, at least in my life, that resonates like, man, I wish I knew this before I did that. And I don't
because
think
John made Mystique the first time, right?
that is true.
And
I
John
made
John made Cavaliers the first time.
The first time.
That's
so,
also
ladies
true.
and gents,
But I don't say because I'm an amazing person or anything like that. I'd say it's because of my parents, like, and the work ethic that they instilled
Please
in me.
explain.
Okay, so I come from a musical family. Like my mom plays piano; she's a music teacher, piano teacher. My dad plays trumpet, and he's an accountant. So, like from the age of 5, I was playing piano, and I took piano lessons with my mom all the way until college. So that definitely helped me in my musical career. Is that I stuck with it. I enjoyed piano, and I did like what they call as federation and guild. And so that's like piano competitions. You have to go in, you have to play, memorize pieces. You have to play your scales. You have to do sight reading. You got to do all this stuff. And so I did that for 15 years or how many years, 13 years or whatever. And then I know I got a lot of work ethic from my dad because even when I was, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, like I was always working in the yard with my dad, and I had my own lawn mowing business. I walked dogs. I made snow cones and brownies at the pool, and I sold them and tried to make some money that way. Like I was always hustling and working, and I was still like staying on top of all my schoolwork and practicing my butt off. So I think I did well in life because of the family environment of my parents pushing me and my parents having great values and instilling in me a strong work ethic. Because I remember in high school, every morning I would go in early and I would practice, like if let's say school started at, 8:15, 8:30, like I was outside the band door waiting for the band director to unlock the door at 7:30 in the morning, 7:45 every day. And then in the afternoon, if it wasn't band rehearsal, I was practicing 2 hours after school for percussion, technique, band music, whatever. And then during winter breaks for like Mystique and Cavaliers, I practiced 8 hours a day. And I think I did well in the long run because of the work ethic and the values my parents instilled in me. So I guess one thing you could say I wish I knew is it's okay to have fun and relax, but I feel like in my high school career and in my college career as well, I had fun and relaxed. Like I enjoyed what I did. It's nice to be good at what you do, and you can enjoy that. And then I also participated in sports. Like I ran track, and I don't want to say I was a track superstar.
No, you have them handles, John.
No, I ran. No, I hate cross country. People who run cross country, kudos to you, but you guys are insane because that is too long. No, I ran the 400, the 4x1, the 4x4, and the 800. The 800 was my specialty. I could win that. And but like in that regard, I didn't really practice for track. I was always doing band. But the coach knew, I guess, my work ethic and my integrity. So I could just come to practice on a Wednesday afternoon, and I went in the morning workouts with like the wrestling team, the football team in the morning. I was working out with them from 6:45 to 7:30, but I just did things myself. And I think if I didn't do band and I went the sport career, I think I could have gone well with track. But I guess I don't know. You have to be careful of the people you surround yourself with. Right. So if you're going to be hanging out with kids, your peers, who are not going to do the right type of thing, then you're not setting yourself up for success in the long run. And I don't think a lot of kids in the high school level or younger, or even, some college or whatever, they don't think of it like that because they're in the moment and they're just thinking short term, next day. But long term, like you have to watch out for what you're doing. I would say, I know I'm just rambling right now, and you guys just want to jump in anytime, please.
No,
But
John, I think what you're saying is interesting, but I also want to parry that with when you were in high school, the people that you surrounded yourself with in your social circles, I'm sure were the people that you were doing those social things with, if it was band, then it was band kids. If you're out on the football team, then it's the football team and the cheerleaders because they ride buses together. Like I felt like I didn't really have a like no, I mean when it's basketball season, it's basketball and cheerleaders because they have to ride buses together. What I'm saying is I don't think I really had a choice in the circle of friends that I had because those are the people that I saw all the time. And time was
100.
so limited in high school that it was like, yo, if I didn't hang out with these people, I wouldn't see anybody. Because literally all I was doing was going to rehearsal and going home. So it was like when I got out of rehearsal, we would hang for a little bit after rehearsal and then it was on to the next thing. But it was like even the people that ended up in my wedding, like we were all in band together because that was my circle of friends. We were the ones that formed the friendship. I knew other people from like class, but it's like how often did you actually go hang out with those individuals? Because you weren't sweating and working with them, outside of the English class that you had with them. It's not like, yo, Johnny, what's up, man? You want to go hit IHOP? Like, nah, man. Like, all my sweat and blood was with all the people I was in band with because we all experienced those hot rehearsals together. We all experienced those wild band director moments together. You know what I mean? Like, all that, those experiences were built together. So that's who we wanted. Like we wanted to converse about those experiences again and again. And that's who we hung out with. So when we say like, I don't think kids think about their long-term, like who really thought about that at that age? Like you only see like what's in front of you. You know what I mean? Like you don't have that foresight.
Or
foresight.
Foresight.
Well, also the high school I was at, it's Forsyth. It's not Forsyth. Just want to clarify that, everyone. Even though the WGI announcer can never get it right. It's not Forsyth Central. It's Forsyth. Forsyth Central High School. That high school also had a really strong band program in which a lot of my peers were in a lot of the same classes as I was because they were in the same band program. Like it was a well-established high school, and everyone kind of helped each other. The athletics helped the music program. The music program helped the athletics. It was a good place to learn. But yeah.
So Ryan, share this with me, man, because you did the whole high school band thing. We kind of like, where do you see like the benefit of your knowledge and education and how that furthered you? Because I will say, like, I felt like I had the work ethic to be successful, but I didn't have the information coming up. Like, I did yard work when I was a kid. My mom had me out there at 5 o'clock on a Saturday morning doing yard work until 3 o'clock. Like, we did it every Saturday. That was my, the work ethic was there. It was established. I just don't think I had the information. And I feel like some kids are in that situation where, like, their parents are, they've instilled the work ethic, but to John's point, he also had the information there. Like, he had the musical parents. My parents, not musical at all. My dad wasn't there, but my mom, she was there, and she didn't know anything about music to tell me one or the other. If I didn't pick it up from my older sisters that had already gone through the program, I didn't have it. So it was like, I had what I was given, but once I got more information, like, it's like my sophomore year, it's like, I was like a addict. Like I grabbed onto it with all hands like I had never been fed before. And it was just like, give me more, give me more, give me more. And that's where I saw that supreme stride happen once I actually started getting the information.
Yeah, so I would say I was kind of the same way. I definitely had information because I had private lessons through a lot of middle school and most of high school. And we always had...
I want to come back to that. Thank you. Remind me. Yes. Sorry.
But I don't like, the one thing I missed in high school is I never had anything. I was never pushed to take anything super seriously. I mean, I took things seriously, but I was never told, like, if you work hard at this, you can be great at it. You know, I was from a smaller town. I was one of the better percussionists in my class, 4 years of the top concert band at my high school, 4 years on the drum line, all of that kind of stuff. But, you know, and I didn't decide to go to do music until I was a junior in high school. But I wish like somebody would have sat me down and said, hey man, you've got some talent, you've got some information, but like if you really want to do this, this is what it takes. And that you have to sit down and like really devote time to your craft. And that's one of the things that I've tried to do with my students now in a like I wish I knew this moment, is like I wish I knew that I wish I knew that I could take the lessons I got from band and apply them to anything. For me, I just applied the lessons I had from band and applied them to band. But with my students, it's like I don't care if you ever play your instruments again after high school. But you're going to learn to work hard. You're going to learn to be respectful. You're going to learn to be as good as you can at something. And that's not the same for every kid. But you're going to learn those three things and other life lessons and other musical lessons. But those three things, you're going to apply then to every aspect of your life after this. And I've told kids, I don't care if you go be a hamburger flipper at McDonald's, you better be the best darn hamburger flipper at McDonald's, period. Because of what you learned at band. And I wish, you know, that's the thing. If what I said earlier with like learning to practice correctly, like learning the amount of energy it takes to not just be good at something, because it's super easy to get good. You know, good is the enemy of great. It takes a tremendous amount of energy, you know, especially if you don't have the background. Like John was super fortunate to have like musical parents and had examples from like birth of like what it took to get good. You know, like I didn't practice nearly as much as John did, you know. And when John was talking about how much he practices and whatnot, I was like, man, I wish I had students that practiced a quarter of what John did. But I mean, that I think is what's missing from just society today, is that people are like, you know, find your passion and whatnot, and you got to try a bunch of different things to find your passion. And they're absolutely right. But once you find that passion, man, it takes a heck of a lot to make it something that you can actually do.
I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Gary Vaynerchuk, who is on the passion project of preaching to everybody about patience and diligence to work hard for a long stint of time. Because, like, you know, I feel like as an individual, he's very vocal about it, and it starts to sound like a broken record. But it's absolutely true. Like there's nothing false about what he's saying, in the fact that if you start working at something at 19 and you put in a good 10 years of hard work, by the time you're 29, you will start to see the fruits of that labor. And I think a lot of the kids that are out there today, they want this instant gratification of, you know, something that maybe they put in like a week of work in. And it's like, yo, if you get my hands after a week, the Lord then blessed you with something beyond all our eyes. Because I remember those 8-hour-a-day practice sessions in my bedroom at my mom's house. I still remember the dinosaur faceplate that was on the light switch when I would turn the fan on because I started sweating because of how long I was practicing. Like, and I don't think I ever had natural talent. I think I've got the ability to pick up things like fairly quickly, but in terms of natural music ability, man, I had to practice, and I still was never that, like, I felt like I got good, and I felt like I was able to be in the room with a lot of great players because I practiced a lot. But like, could I ever achieve what they achieved? Probably not. Like, they were the combination of hard work and talent. And I've told people this before, like, when you're blessed with talent and you actually fortify that talent with a lot of hard work, man, that's where you see Michael Jordans. That's where you see Kobe's. That's where you see LeBron's. That's where you see the Peyton Mannings. And the people that we see are anomalies is because they've got that talent and they actually put in the hard work to foster that talent and make it great. When you don't come with that talent, but you still want to be in that room, talk about the players that were on that team, man. Like, I was on the team. Like, I wasn't MJ, but I was in 91, 92, 93 Bulls. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I put in the work to be there. You know what I mean? Like, how many hours did I spend in the gym? A lot. I spent a lot of time trying to put in work and effort. And that's why I tell people, like, don't give up that hustle. Like, if you want to March Mystique, and I love Mystique, I'm biased. I did it for 2 years. But when I set out as what grade was I in? Probably junior or senior. I told myself, like, this is something I want to do. I don't know when I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'll even have the opportunity to do it. And you talking about a kid from Florida trying to figure out how he's going to get to Tennessee to drum in a time where, like, you know, people weren't really carpooling. Like, if you didn't live there, you didn't march there. And there was nothing else around me outside of my high school. And I was fortunate. We had a good indoor program at my high school. But trying to figure out how I was going to get here, like, my brain would have exploded. But it was like opportunity after opportunity after opportunity led to this. And when I got the opportunity, I was going to be damned if I was going to waste it on the fact that I wasn't practicing enough. Nah, I was practicing all the time. As a matter of fact, I worked a car rental job where I was the first year that I marched, I had to work Sunday through Thursday, and I worked from 6:45 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. because I was teaching 2 high schools. Went to one school rehearsal right after work, like 3 to 5, and then another one from like 6 to 9. But I practiced the entire, because I was only washing cars. So if I didn't have a car that was coming in to be washed, I was practicing with a Met on a drum pad at the booth in the back of the car rental agency, because there's nothing that was going to stop me from getting this hustle on. And I think that's one of the things that, like, we all agree on, like, that hard work, it can't be sacrificed for anything else. Like, even if you have the talent, like the talent may get you further ahead, but the hard work puts you at base level. Like, that gets you in the room, in the conversation with other people. So you can't sit back on it and say, well, you know, John, his parents taught him and he just got that talent. But not everybody had that talent, but they were still in the same room. They were still playing the same notes. You know what I mean? Like, they still had some of the same opportunities, but it's all about how you look at it, how you see it, how you approach it. Go ahead, John.
I do also want to say one other thing. It's like, I also had to work hard. Like, yeah, well, what he's saying.
I'm not saying you didn't work hard.
No, yeah.
The hard work was on top.
I just want to let everyone know, yes, okay, so I did come from a musical background. So in that regard, I had maybe a little up from everyone. And that's why I went for keyboard, because I started with piano. But I still had to figure out how to hold the mallets. Like, I was the only freshman to make it in my high school. Like, right off the bat, freshman in the high school. And so what we did back in the summer is all the pit people took their keyboards home. Well, as a freshman, I was just coming in, so I didn't have a keyboard. But we would meet on Mondays from 5 to 9. The battery would meet every Monday during the summer and drum. And I came in, but there was no pit people because they all took their keyboards home. And so Tom Tucker, the director at the time, he's still there, but he just told me to go practice in the chorus room. So I didn't know really anything what I was doing, but through hard work, I went to vicfirth.com. I checked out their educational videos, and I taught myself how to hold 2 mallets, how to hold 4 mallets. And a great friend of mine, Claire Kenny, she came in. She did Mystique. She did Blue Coats. She did all that. She would come in from time to time and help me, and she was one of the pit techs that would come and help during the summer. But I remember every Monday from 5 to 9, I was in that chorus room watching Vic Firth educational videos and figure out how to hold 4 mallets. So, like, even though I had the keyboard, like, music theory knowledge, I still had to put in the work. I still had to put in the hours in that regard. So I just wanted to clarify, you still have to work, even if you have a step up from everyone.
And I did not say that, though. I said that.
Yes.
You still have to put in, like, you cannot subtract hard work and elbow grease from the equation at all. Like talent will take you somewhere, but it's not going to take you all the way. I'm sorry.
It's not. And I think it's interesting that you do say that, just because of the fact that I run up on a lot of students that they feel that because they have the information that they're automatically like, now I'm on the same level. No. And it's like, no, like, it's not about you having the information. It's about you being able to effectively use the information on a consistent basis. If you can't apply it, then there's no reason that you should even have the information, because it doesn't matter. Like, you're telling me, oh, I know I need to like support the stick more, but you're still scratching rolls. Like, why are you still doing this? You're telling me that I've already given you all the answers and you know, but the real question is, why are you refusing to use the answers that are already available to you? Like, this is probably, I think this is probably the most frustrating part of me teaching high school a lot of times, is just because I like am very adamant about my students knowing why something sounds bad and like what they're going to do technique wise before they get into the chunk and what they need to do it. But at the same time, it's like, me telling you and giving you the information does not make you better. Like, that exposure alone does not negate the fact that you are going to have to spend a certain amount of time of just beating it into your hands until your hands understand what your brain understands. You know what I mean? So I definitely feel like that's really good. And I feel like that's an integral key to what John was saying, is that, I mean, we can think about any other person. I mean, Michael Jordan's son is not a good basketball player, you know, and it doesn't mean that he didn't have access to the information that everybody else wanted to have to be the greatest of all time. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the access to the information alone is not what's going to make you successful. You have to actually do something with the information. And I think that's something that maybe I wish in a sense that I knew. I think as far as percussion and music is concerned, like, that was something that I generally gravitated towards. So it was like, okay, like, anytime I get some information about that, boom, 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 I'm going. And I think in high school, I only had a certain amount of information just because my instructors, or for one of the years that I was there, didn't have an instructor. The instructor that I got, he only had a certain amount of information because he's a drum set player in drum corps. So he could give me like the most that he knew, but he didn't have the other stuff that was going to take me like beyond what to close that gap, basically, of what I needed to know to be able to be on a level that I wanted to be on. So I feel like that's really more important almost now than the information, because nowadays there's so much information that's available. There's so much exposure. It's like, there's no reason why students or instructors, for that matter, should ever feel like we don't have access to the information that the top groups have access to. The only thing they typically have access to that we may not have is like the real world experience of like making their systems work and how they teach what they're doing, and money in some instances as well, because that'll help too. But I'm just saying, like, you still have to do the work. And I think that's really key to point out.
You know, when John was talking about he was watching the Vic Firth videos and learning how to do that, like, I wish I had Vic Firth videos to watch
when I was in high school.
99 and 2000, when I was a freshman and sophomore and trying to get better. Like, I'm bringing up the conversation of access to information, and like in 2020, there's for the most part. Now, I will say there are some parts of the country that still, they don't have adequate internet access. They don't have drumline instructor. Like, they don't have access to information. So I love it when those kids come to camp, because it's like they found out about Southwind through their band director's wife. I don't know, like, you know, like, they found out about it through something, and they just want to learn something. It's like, I love it when those kids come, because I know they don't have access to the information, so they are more likely to pay attention to every single thing that we have to offer them, because they're drinking from a water hose for the first time in their life. You know what I mean? So it's like, access to information was more of an issue when I was trying to learn. Like, I didn't have the access to information, even though I had the work ethic built in. And then as the information came, I got better. But it's like, nowadays, the information's so prevalent, kids are ignoring it. Like, it's like information overload. It's like they're ignoring 100%. Stuff that they need to know, because they're getting so much stuff. They don't know how to decipher what are the things that I need to know in order to get here.
Well, I think, and I love that John brought up that he learned from the Vic Firth videos and whatnot, and what you guys were just talking about. I think there's a difference between wanting to learn and wanting to be taught. And I think students today, I think in my experience, I've experienced a lot of kids that like have sticks and they're like, teach me. And so like I give them information, but if you're not willing to learn that information, that doesn't make me a great teacher. You know, it just means I have a lot of information that you're not listening to, you know. And I think that is something that I wish I would have known earlier, but I also think that a lot of instructors need to know is that, yes, we have a lot of information, but there's also times where it's like, we got to let them figure it out too, because they have to learn. They have to learn.
Yes. So let's open that one up to where what's something that you wish you would have known when you first started instructing. So now we're moving from outside. We're getting a little more specific here. So Ryan kind of already gave us a little bit of what he wished he would have known. What about you, Rob, John?
I mean, for me, the first thing that I'm going to think about is the fact that I can overteach something. Like, I can overteach something. And it's just like, at some time, I think that some of my more intelligent students, it was kind of like, I could tell that they were getting so irritated with me because they were like, I already know what you're saying. Like, that already makes sense. I already figured that out. Like, move on to the next thing. But it's like over teaching and like, cause I mean, like, I don't know if you grew up in a more rural area or in a particular age of drum corps instructors and things like that. It's like, you go to the first day of band camp, you're going to play 8 on a ham the whole day. Like, you're not playing double beat. You're not playing like anything. You're going to get perfect 8s. Everybody's going to be able to play at 12, turn your wrist. Like, this is it. This is all we doing. We're not doing anything else. But I think that also in over teaching, I started to understand that in some ways, the students that wanted to learn more, I was kind of taking away an opportunity from them in that they wanted to get the information, but have time to kind of explore it, play around with it, and like, let me figure out how this works. And sometimes in my zeal to like make sure that, you know, we sound good, that, you know, everybody's hands look good, that I'm trying to force feed it into them rather than giving them the principles, demonstrating it, and then allowing them to do some of the things that I told them not to do. Like, hey, I want everybody to like squeeze the sticks. All right, hold your hand just like that and keep squeezing. See how uncomfortable that feels? This is why you shouldn't squeeze the stick like that. Like, that's dumb. Like, but giving them the opportunity to be intelligent students rather than, in a sense, almost insulting their intelligence by beating them over the head with the information without giving them a chance to like digest it.
I will say that I am notorious for not giving students a chance to breathe and digest. We're moving on to the next thing. I hope you guys have figured it out. Matt's turning on. What's it? You know, it's just, but it's like, I've been known to be intense, and it is what it is. But it's one of those things too, to where it's like, I wish I knew how I am. You know what I mean? Like, because you never know how you are as an instructor because you never get to watch yourself, right? Like, it's always coming from your point of view when you're out, but you never get to step on the outside of yourself and actually see how is it that you instruct, which is anytime I find a clip or something that somebody's recorded me talking to students, I really like to dig in because I'm a fan of critique. And like, I love the ability to be able to critique how I do things, but like not ever knowing how I actually interact with students. Like, you get their version of it, but you don't ever get an opportunity to do that self-critique to where you can say, damn, I get kind of pissy. Like, I get a little ornery from time to time. Like, that's hard to stomach sometimes. And it's just like, but that's you. Like, that's your personality. You got to accept it. but that doesn't mean that you can't grow from being able to see it. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things. Like, I wish I would know how not to do things sometimes, because if I'm left to my own, then I just use what works for me, and that doesn't always work for everybody else. Because I think as a person, like, I can probably take a lot more because of my life experiences than other people can, but not everybody's like they say, like, not everybody's built for the league. You know what I mean? But it's like you have to understand that about your students, or else, like you said, you're just stressing them out. And sometimes you can stress students out to a point to where they don't want to do it anymore, and they end up leaving. And I've had students that have left. They've left after sophomore year. They've left after junior year. And I can't put all the blame on me, but will I say that I had part to do with some of it? Probably. You know what I mean? Like, I can be stressful when I want something done a certain way and you're not doing it. Like, you just, like, you're going to learn. You know?
Gonna learn today. Gonna learn today.
Oh.
I'm just saying. I mean, I agree. I mean, but I think that's good to have, that we can have that kind of an idea as instructors to kind of grow from that, because I feel like that's more of a elementary, definitely a lot of things that a more elementary method of teaching things. You know what I mean? Of just telling students, hey, this is what you need to do it this way. And in a lot of ways, when I first started, like a lot of, you know, staff members and stuff that I see at my programs, they're teaching it a certain way, and they're giving out information because that's the information that they were given when they marched this group, when they marched, you know, wherever they were. That's the information that they're giving out. Not necessarily that that's the reason why this particular thing doesn't sound good. They're just repeating what they know. They don't know how to apply it, you know, to the situation the way that it needs to be. So
Context is the word that you're looking for, Robert. Context is your favorite.
They don't know how to apply it to the correct context. You're right. So, I mean, I think that that's something that, I mean, instructors, I feel like we can always continue to grow in. It's just knowing when to give more information and knowing when to back off. And I feel like the thing that made me tend to overteach is because of my personality, and that I'm always thinking about the weakest player.
Excuse me.
Like, that's my mindset when I'm teaching things, is I'm always thinking about that kid who is absolute garbage. I am thinking about that kid and how I can get that kid up to superstar kid, like, straight up. But a lot of times I kind of started to realize that, like, I was pissing off the star student not because they're just so much better and they're this golden child, but, like, I wasn't giving them the information that they needed to get to where they wanted to go. So, I mean, that's something that I really would like to talk to you guys about, hear your opinion about, is, like, how do you bridge that gap between those students that are, like, go-getters, they're going to practice it on their own, and the other kids that, like, they kind of need you to be there for every single thing that's happening?
So for me, two things. One is teaching kids expectations, like how to expect themselves to do things, so that every kid is going to have a different expectation based on where they're at. You know, so your superstar kids are going to have higher expectations. Your kids that need more attention from you are going to have, hopefully, higher expectations for themselves, but they're not going to be what your center snare is. But the other thing is, I've learned, when I was younger, I tried to prove how much knowledge I had and talked too much. And the older I've gotten, I've learned I just need to play more for the kids. Like, especially the younger kids, like, I'll just play for them. Like, this is what it should sound like. What monkey see, monkey do. I've subscribed to monkey see, monkey do a lot the last 2 or 3 years. And it's like, because I don't know if it's the kids don't want to listen or their attention spans are shorter, but, like, they want to hit the drum.
Now, Ryan, would you say that that's specific to your high schools and younger students, or would you also apply that method to your college age, like the drum corps students that you teach?
I mean, it's probably more so my high school kids, but I still think, like, when you're talking about drum corps, you get students from so many different walks of life and different areas that I still feel like with Matrix, there's times where I'll, like, park behind a keyboard and I'll play, or Rob Ferguson will play, or the other front tech will play, Jared will play. And it's like, this is what we want it to sound like. And we can explain to you like it's a heavy, dark sound and you got to do this and you got to use 6.97% wrist and blah, blah, blah. Or you can just listen to it, and watch and make it sound that way. And I think there's something to be said for like, all right, I grew up this way. I'm teaching you this way, and now you're trying to get into this system. Just replicate it.
I think that's an interesting point, just because of the fact that I noticed there are a lot of instructors, unfortunately, that they seem to be the keepers of the information, but their hands have atrophied over time, and they don't play anymore. So it's like trying to demonstrate to your students what to do. It's John, I don't even want to hear that. I don't want to see any of that. We know your hands still look like amazing. So, but I'm just saying, like there are a lot of students out there that probably have never seen their instructors play anything, and they're like dumbfounded. Like I had a student this year when we were getting ready to go over some formality stuff during class. And Senator Marimba was like, "Oh my God, you play mallets?" So I'm like, "I teach percussion. I'm a percussionist." Like, yes, I love snare drum, but today we're gonna do some formalities. And they were just like flabbergasted. You know what I mean? But there's so many kids, unfortunately, and yes, some instructors we calling you out. You gotta still play. Like your kids are waiting to be inspired to do something. It's like maybe we have to give ourselves a reason to practice. I get that. Like I'm old, don't really have a reason to practice, but I don't know. I think there's definitely something to be said about what Ryan said about being able to get on the instrument and still be able to communicate something that your words are never going to be able to communicate.
I think that's like the central concept behind it is like what words will not communicate. Because you we think about music as being so much more than what's written on the page. It's such an audible, artistic type of thing that, it's like, write me an essay about, what this symphony meant to you. Like, I can't put that into words. Like, if I go see the LA Symphony perform at their best, I can't write down what that felt like when I heard them play, when I hear those strings hit that high note, that note that just seems like it lasts forever right before that climax. Like you can't, like the words don't do it justice. I try, but the words don't do it justice. That's why it's like you get chills when you hear good music. It's because your body reacts a different way than actual spoken word can say. So, like I think we're kind of in that level of, reaching that secondary level of learning to where it's like, yes, English, I get it, but that doesn't mean you can rap. It's like, yes, you understand road signs, but that doesn't mean you know how to drive a car. You know what I mean? Or you know how to drive a car doesn't mean you can do NASCAR or a race car circuit. Right? Just because you understand the bare basics of something doesn't mean that you understand the mastery level, because you've got to put yourself in a situation that allows you to absorb that information and knowledge on a different level. And I think for a lot of our students, they're missing that gap space that allows them to get to that cognitive level to be able to ingest that information, because they're still stuck on the words. They're still stuck on, well, this is this, and this, like definitions. Like, yeah, I get it. We learn definitions, but it doesn't teach you how to have a conversation. Like, in order to have that musical conversation, there's more that you have to know. And in order for you to pick that up, I've got to be able to show you, and you've got to have the mindset to be able to take in that information and then put it back out for the world.
Okay.
John.
John.
Oh, man. For me, I'm the opposite. I assume everyone's like me and everyone's going to work hard and put in the hours and things like that.
Bad
and
assumption.
the longer I've taught, the more I've given up on that notion. And so I don't even, like every time I see a kid now for a private lesson, I just assume the worst. And I'm just like, all right, here we go. I'm going to waste. I don't want to say I'm going to waste my time, but I'm going to say the same thing over again and everything. Because for me, like you guys have, my background. I've already said that enough. But for me, when I have a student, okay, I teach them eights first week. Okay, next week. Okay, you've already learned eights. We've already learned our full rebound strokes. All right, let's do some stick control. We'll still play the same thing. Next week, okay, now we're learning a 2-height exercise. Of course, I'm going to ask them to play the exercise because I already have my lesson plan figured out. We're going to go boom, 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 boom. But once I realize that they can't play the first thing, I have to scrap my entire lesson. Like, okay, I guess we're going to play the same thing again this week. Let's just break it down again. And then, they talk to me and they haven't practiced at all. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just wasting my time and spinning my wheels here because I know you're not going to practice at all. And that's frustrating. But I guess we'll kind of get a little bit better. So I don't know if that helps anyone who's listening to this podcast. But I guess you could say as an instructor, it's okay to say the same thing again, and it's okay to have low expectations, maybe.
Well, I think it's okay to manage expectations.
Yes, you have to know your kid. You have to know your student. At the end of the day, if you know that your student, like music isn't a high priority because they want to do other stuff, but they're still taking lessons because either it's offered or they want to learn, then you just have to know that that's cool too. Compared to maybe a kid who's like, I'm all in band, nothing else matters. Like you have to be flexible and adaptable with each student, knowing that not every student's going to be your, like for me, Mystique Cavalier level. Some can be other levels, and I'm not going to mention anything because people have different priorities and different values and different backgrounds. So I don't know if that helps anyone who's listening, but don't be too hard on yourself, people. Hey, but I do want to say, I want to jump in, sorry, and go back to what I wish I knew as I was a student, and maybe this could be tied into an instructor, but how important private lessons and private lesson teachers are.
Or can be. I want to say can be because maybe not everybody has the facility, but I think the more that they understand how good for them it can be, then they will find ways to make it happen, if that makes sense.
Okay, I agree with that. And the reason I say that about the private lesson teachers is because I never had a private lesson instructor in Georgia when I was doing my percussion career. Everything was more self-taught, self-motivated, practice with the band, okay? But when I came over here to Texas, and this is what I really enjoy about specifically the DFW area, and it depends again on the band booster program and the financial situation. But like these kids can outplay me, which is amazing, which I think is awesome. But I just think back, like if I were in their shoes and had the opportunity for a private instructor, man, how awesome that would be. And I don't think some of the students that I have an opportunity to teach, they see me and they're like, okay, Mr. Gall's here for a lesson. Let's do this. I don't think they really value what a private instructor can help them develop in their musical career. Like that, for me, I think that is gold because even if you play snare drum, your private instructor, they could teach you more about snare, but think about everything else you're missing, right? Keyboard, timpani, world percussion, drum set, college auditions, concert percussion, you name it. So many things out there. And it goes back to my personal philosophy of teaching students to be well-rounded. But I think from a student perspective or even an instructor perspective, if you have an opportunity to take private lessons or to provide private lessons to bring a private lesson instructor in for your program, I think that is so important, and you need to hype that up without cussing or anything. But you got to hype that up That's super important because I just wish as a high school student that I had my own personal private lessons instructor. Because I'm knowing myself, I knew I was going to work hard. But if I had that extra education, man, just how far do you think I could have gone?
So we're now
But now I
back
don't
in the
do
conversation. We're back in the conversation then of access to information.
Yeah.
Is that not another form of access to information?
Yes,
I
I'd
think
say
it's- I
that's
think it's-
better though, because like when
I
you
also-
you can have tons. Sorry, Rob, I'm just kicking you off this
Go ahead,
conversation.
John.
I'll shut up. No, I won't shut up. I think even though you have all this information online and students can go learn about it, like the instructor is there also to fix the nuances in the hands and to present application. Sorry. All right, I'm done. Rob, Ryan, someone else talk. I'm shutting up now. Just kidding. Anyway, what I was saying.
No. It's good.
I got a little lag here.
I
Sorry.
100% agree, though. I mean, like, I think it's not even just access to information, but just access to skill. Because I think that when we think about education and we think about teaching, we don't think of, or I guess students don't think of teaching as a skill. Like that is something that you learn over time. And it's not that, all the instructors don't have the same information, because for the most part, everybody has the same information. Everybody's teaching the same stroke types, same grips, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But certain instructors have a skill to be able to pinpoint exactly what way you can change things to be able to play it the best that you can play it. And I definitely think that when it comes down to private instructors, like you said, they're able to find certain parts of your technique and certain weaknesses that you have that maybe aren't going to be highlighted in an ensemble setting, or maybe they don't have the time to really call you out about that in an ensemble setting because it's not an ensemble. You know what I mean? Like private instructors have not just access to information, but like I said, they have that skill to be able to give you that trajectory so that you can say, hey, if you fix this one individual thing, this is going to fix like 10 other things. Now, maybe I don't have the time to tell you that in a full ensemble rehearsal because what you're doing is not that egregious at this moment. It's not like ripping the entire ensemble apart. But I can tell you that this is going to make you 10 times better if you just do this one thing. And I think that a lot of students don't necessarily value that, like John said. So, I mean, I would have loved to have that.
I will say, I think that I find it comforting in the fact that the students that I started in private lessons in 8th grade were the ones that ended up going on and beyond to do drum corps, et cetera, because, and even indoor, like, I think I made it important inside of our lessons for them to understand that because you are doing this, you are gaining another level of knowledge that your peers are not entertaining. Not that they don't have access to it, because at the time that I was teaching lessons, I offered it to everybody. Not everybody took me up on that, though. You know what I'm saying? And for the ones that did, they benefited. You know what I mean? So it's like getting kids to understand the benefit versus the alternative. That's, I feel like, is the hardest token, because it's like, even though, and I found it crazy, even though they could see that their peers were excelling, it's like they still didn't believe, well, they were just good. It's like, yeah, they're good, but you realize they're getting better.
Yeah, they got the fairy dust.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, they're getting better because they're getting another set of, they're getting the information presented in a different way that allows them to digest it so that the application gets better, right? So that the application gets better. And because the application is getting better, they are starting to excel. And I was like, if I could get students, especially at that age, to understand that concept, man, you know what I mean? I can't say that I'm teaching private lessons right now. Family life, I've just not been able to dedicate the time to be able to do that. But I will say, in the time that I did do it, I was very endeared by the students that I had, because I knew that those were the ones that really wanted the information. Like their parents weren't forcing them to be there. Like it was like, yo, lesson starts at 6. They were waiting outside in the car at 5:50, like waiting to get in the building. You know what I mean? Like it's because like there was something about their personality that really wanted to do it. So that's probably a lesson to take away for any students that are watching. If you're contracting somebody to do private lessons, don't waste their time. Be prepared, show up, have all their information, have all your information ready to go so that you're not wasting their time and you can actually benefit from that extra application and effort that they're giving you to get better. And that's my story.
Ryan, you got anything, or you want to wrap it up?
I mean, just on the private lesson thing, I think the biggest thing is that kids need to realize that private lessons are not a replacement to practicing. You know, I stopped teaching lessons.
Oof.
I stopped teaching lessons a while ago because I had a couple kids that took lessons with me, really good, went on to be, and are still currently college music majors. But then I hit a string of a couple of years where kids just came into lessons, and I was doing the same lessons with kids for, a month. And it just, to me, got to the point where, I was in an area where the arts weren't super heavily supported, so I couldn't charge a ton for lessons and whatnot. And as happy as we are to take your money and not have to work that hard for it, when we're doing lessons again over and over and over and over and over again for you, it just got to not be worth the time for me. I love teaching kids that come into their lessons and want to learn and want to get better. And something we haven't talked about yet in this, are goal-oriented in their lessons and in their lives, which I think is like the basis for, like, if you want to be successful at something, if you have goals, they will help you measure the success. Otherwise, like, I'm trying to lose weight. If I lose 5 pounds, I've lost weight. That doesn't make me skinny or in better shape. It just means I lost a little bit of weight. So the goal-oriented side of things is huge. And I think lessons, especially, because you do have somebody that's giving up their time to give you information, and they want to, and it's not for the money. But at the point that you're not taking their information, lessons as a private lesson teacher that, again, gave it up because I didn't want to use my time, they become only about the money at that point. So like you said, Elanders, if you're going to do the lessons, like, do the lessons, have a goal, want to audition for a drum corps, want to go into school, like go into college for music, something along those lines. Otherwise, you're not getting what you need.
It's a waste. It's an extreme waste. Yeah.
Well, hey, guys, thank you so much for being on with me and hanging out. I don't have a clock, so I don't know how long we did hang out for, but I'm sure it was a while. So if you stayed and listened to this entire podcast, we just want to salute you.
We're about an hour and 20 in. About an hour and 20.
Really?
That's a good ride,
Oh,
man.
my
That's
word.
out of town. You can take that out of town and run it back,
Yeah, we can have two. We can do
Some
2
gems in
podcasts
here.
out of this one. But seriously, Ryan, Elanders, Robert.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
I'd like
Get somewhere in practice.
Yes, go get them hands moving now.